Hi everyone. Most of you probably already know me from ESP, but if you don't, my name is Lena and I'm part of the team that does the assignments for ESP and OOP1. And in this video today, I'm here to give you a brief introduction to assignment 2 for OOP1. So let's get started. I will just turn off my camera because it might overlap with the text. So, all right. So assignment 2 is what we call Dungeons and Classes. And in this task, you're supposed to implement a game that is inspired by Dungeons and Dragons, which is a tabletop role-playing game. There's also some computer games based on Dungeons and Dragons. For example, you might have heard of Baldur's Gate, the Baldur's Gate series. And the game you're supposed to implement is a very, very basic version of that. And what you're supposed to do is, in this game, 1 to 3 players explore a dungeon of interconnected rooms. And in these rooms, there can be enemies which have to be defeated. And the players can also find helpful items to help them explore the dungeon further. Like there could be potions or armor items or weapon items. And the goal of the game is to find and defeat the dungeon boss, which is in one of these rooms. And this dungeon boss is a lich, which is a type of monster. Some general information about the assignment. This assignment has 2 submission deadlines. First of all, there's the deadline for the design document, which is on the 24th of April, so pretty soon. And then there's the submission deadline for the actual program, which is on the 22nd of May. The assignment is worth 60 points in total. You need to pass at least 50% of all test cases to pass the course. And you need to pass at least 66% of all test cases to go on to A3. The reason for that is that assignment 3 is based on assignment 2. So if your assignment 2 does not work properly, you cannot implement assignment 3. So if by this deadline, by the 22nd of May, you do not pass 66% of the test cases, you will spend the rest of the time until the A3 deadline continue to improve your assignment 2. So you will not get a chance to do assignment 3. So pay attention to that. Some further notes. There are, of course, the general specifications on the course website, where you can also find the style guide, the coding standard, etc. There's only one additional specification for this assignment. We provide to you a random class, and this random class must not be modified, because then it will not be compatible with the test system anymore. You will get different results, so do not touch that one. Also, there are some of those 60 points that are bound to certain specific C++ concepts. First of all, you can get a certain number of points for your object-oriented structure. Then there are some points for the use of smart pointers, some points for the use of exceptions, and you can also get a bonus point for finding a useful way to use operator overloading in your assignment. As you probably already know, assignment 2 and assignment 3 are group work, and for this, an even division of labor is very important. So please do your own commits for transparency so we can see who did what in your program, and also take care to divide the labor evenly. So you can check this. We provide to you a Git report, which can be found in the GitLab artifacts, where you usually also find your test report. And there you can see how the current division of work, who did how many commits, who put in how many lines of code, etc. So take a look at that and keep an eye on that. And if you see that it skews towards one person, maybe give somebody else more work and stuff like that. As I mentioned already, there is an early deadline for a design document, and this is used for a design discussion. So what you're supposed to do for this is first read the whole assignment description, then you need to write a design document that contains a basic structure and design of your program, and it should also contain an UML diagram to show show the relations between the classes you are planning to do. So you also had to do an UML diagram in the homework, so something similar to that, but for the assignment to program. And then you hand in this design document, and in this span of time shown below, there will be discussion rounds. And in these discussion rounds, you will discuss your plan with a tutor and other teams. So there will be multiple teams and a tutor in this discussion round, and you can compare your designs and maybe improve them. And it's mandatory to attend a discussion round. So once the tutors give you the time slots, please sign up for one time slot, and everybody from the group has to be there. Otherwise, you cannot pass the course. So let's move on to the assignment description. The assignment description consists of two main parts. There is a milestone 1, which we call basic structure and output, and there's a milestone 2 for game logic. We recommend that you finish the milestone 1 first and then go on to implementing milestone 2, because milestone 2 is based on milestone 2 or adds on to milestone 1. So if you still have errors in your milestone 1, you will have a hard time making sure that your milestone 2 works properly and testing it and stuff like that. So we recommend going in order here. There are also some additional files in the description which are mostly just lists and values. Like, for example, there's a list of all the different items that exist in the game. There's a list of all the different characters that exist in the game and which values their different stats have and stuff like that. There is also a file about damage patterns, which will tell you which area in a room is affected by a certain attack. And there's also, just for your convenience, a list of all placeholders used in the assignment description. The placeholders are also described in the text, but if you want to look something up quickly, you can use this list to find it. It's sorted in alphabetical order, so you can just look it up and it will tell you what this placeholder means. But as I said, they are also all explained in the text. So now we want to start the game. For starting the game, we have two config files. There is a story configuration file, which contains some messages to be printed, and a dungeon configuration file that contains room sizes, doors, the placement of enemies, etc. Then once you've parsed those two files, your players, which can be 1 to 3 players, choose a player type, which can be barbarian or wizard or rogue, and the different player types get different stats and different starting equipment, which is all described in the characters file. And after we've done this initialization, the game starts by entering the first room in the dungeon. So for playing the game, we have two alternating phases. We've got a player phase, where the players can enter commands, and an enemy phase, where all enemies in the room either attack or move. And the player phase ends when the players have taken as many actions as there are players. So if you have 3 players, the player phase ends when the players have taken 3 actions. But it does not matter which player takes them. So if you have, as I said, 3 players, a wizard, a rogue, and a barbarian, then the wizard can take 3 actions, one after each other, and then the player phase ends. So there's no order in the players themselves. Then the enemy phase is, as I said, all enemies in the room either attack or move. And if there are no enemies in the room, the enemy phase is just skipped. So then when one player phase ends, then next player phase just starts. The enemy phase is skipped. What's also important for playing the game is that only one room in the dungeon is ever active at once. All players are always in the same room, and in the output you only ever see one room, so there's no overview map of the whole dungeon or something like that. And when one player moves to a different room, all other players are teleported with them. Then when entering a room for the first time, all doors are locked until all enemies are defeated. And once all enemies are defeated, the room counts as completed, which is part of the scoring you do at the end of the game. And then all the doors in the room are unlocked. And once the doors are unlocked, the players can move forward and backward through them as they want. So there's nothing forcing the players to keep going forward. They can also move back or move to a different door. As long as the door is unlocked, the players can move through it. Here I've got for you an example of what such a room could look like. Here we've got a room that is 8 fields wide and 5 fields high. And we can see certain things in this room. This is similar to the output you will have to do for the game. So we've got B, W, and R, which are player characters, with the barbarian, the wizard, and the rogue. Then we've got fields marked with D, which are doors. The number shows which room the door leads to. The number 0, because there is no room 0 in the dungeon, is the entrance exit of the dungeon. So at the beginning of the game, the players spawn around the door 0, and they can also leave the dungeon via the door 0. So this is a special door that does not lead to another room. Then T is a treasure chest, and G1, Z1, Z2 are enemies. So G1 is a goblin, and Z1 and Z2 are zombies. They also have a number, which is so you can distinguish between multiple enemies of the same type in the same room. And the hashtag symbol means that something is locked. So here you can see the players just entered the room, so both doors are locked because there are still enemies in the room, and the treasure chest is also still locked because nobody has opened it yet. So now let's move on to commands. There are 2 different types of commands which the players can enter in the player phase. First of all, there are display commands, which do not change anything in the game. They only print some information, like, for example, print the inventory of a player, or change display settings. There's an option and command which turns off the printing of the map. So these display commands do not change anything in the game, so they do not count as actions. You can do an infinite number of display commands and nothing will change in the game. And then the other type of commands are action commands, which change something in the game. And these count as actions. So the actions, this number of actions are relevant for when the player phase ends. As I already mentioned, it ends when the number of taking actions in the current player phase has reached the number of players. And the number of taking actions is also relevant for the scoring at game end. So just to give a brief summary, for free players, the players enter a room for the first time. All players spawn around the door they have entered from. All doors are now locked. Then the players can enter commands until the number of taking actions reaches 3, because we have 3 players in the current player phase. And then next, the enemy phase starts, and all enemies in the room either attack or move. And then you can just repeat 3 and 4 until our enemies are defeated, and then the room counts as completed and all doors are locked. The game can end in 3 different ways. Either the dungeon boss is defeated, or the players flee from the dungeon via the entrance-exit door, or all players are defeated. And at the end, you then do a final scoring where you take into account the number of completed rooms and the number of taking actions. That's it for the brief introduction to assignment 2. If you have any questions, please ask via Discord. There's an A2 forum. and you can also ask in person at the question hours, which are currently planned for the 13th of May. Thank you very much for your attention and good luck with the assignment. Bye!